Super Bowl Sunday about to go down, and as a gambler, it just doesn't get any better than this. The winner will be crowned champion, and the losers, well, they go home. Welcome to Two for Your Money. Glad you're here. And if you like the show, don't forget to hit subscribe and follow us across all social media. Then you'll get notified each and every time a new show drops. Steve Budin here, legend in my own mind, owner and operator of the largest sports betting analysis company in the world. And I'm joined each and every week by my partner in crime, the always entertaining, reigning heavyweight champion of the world. It's Brandon Lang. What's up, champ?
It's my game, bro. 26-6. This is my game, bro. Last year I had the Chiefs. 2-2 in their 4 Super Bowls. Had them in both games against the Niners. Took Philly the first time. Went against Tom Brady and the Bucs. So we're 2-2. So interesting. A lot of storylines we'll get into later. But it's two best teams matching up here. Gonna be a good game.
No doubt. So many sports gambling podcasts out there to choose from. None like this one. Nowhere will you find two better opinions that come from two more opposite sides of the tracks. Brandon, hands down, the most well-known handicapper in the industry. Love him or hate him, he's a household name. But only if that house is filled with the type of gamblers that know what it's like to bet a horse at 10-1 and watch it come in at 4:15. Me, on the other hand, former bookmaker, creator of the offshore and online sports betting industry. For 20 years, I made my money on the dark side, taking the bets. But for the last 20 years, I joined forces with you, the gambler. And the rest, my friends, is history. All right, before we get into the Super Bowl Sunday, Brandon, I turn to you because I got to get your opinion on this. Let's talk a little bit Las Vegas. It's a sunny place for shady people. You lived there for a decade. I worked there for over a decade. And when it comes to gambling and overall entertainment, it's nothing short of the center of the universe. Now, say it ain't so. It's time to say goodbye to the Mirage Hotel. It started the entire renaissance of the Las Vegas Strip. It was the nicest hotel on the Strip for some time, but it turned out, like everything else in Vegas, to be just a mirage. The Guitar Hotel is going to be built there now. It's the Hard Rock's highest of high-end brands. I know you're going to miss the Mirage, Brandon. What's your take on this, the latest transformation of the Las Vegas Strip? Any good Mirage stories?
First of all, I'll never forget the sports book, and then to the left of the sports book was a white payphone.
Right.
And to the left of that white payphone were Seafried and Roy's Tigers.
Right.
Was that close? And you go to get ready to make a bet. You didn't have cell phones back then. You had to run that payphone. You grab that payphone, you call your peeps, and you lean over and you're looking at the white Tigers. It was absolutely surreal. It was just surreal to this day. And then secondly, people don't realize that when you checked in at the front desk of the Mirage, you had arguably the greatest freshwater fish tank you'll ever see in your life. It went the full length of the whole front desk check-in area. And we used to, and I'm not a big weed guy back in the day, but every once in a while we'd be a little stoned at like 2 a.m., just banged out California Pizza Kitchen, which was just off the sports book, and we'd sit there and just watch that fish tank for hours. Yeah. Like, it was that impressive of a fish tank. And to this day, it was a great property.
They used to have a big fat comedian that played there. I forget his name now, but he used to go swimming in that fish tank all the time, and you'd see him in there. The Mirage was great. I mean, first time I went to the Mirage, it was the Duran-Leonard No Mas fight. And it was the opening of the Mirage Hotel. I was a Caesars guy up until then. I had worked for Caesars pretty much my whole Vegas career. And I check into the Mirage, and I had wired about 10 grand. That was a lot of money back then. And I remember going to the cage to set everything up, and I checked my balance. It was like 24 grand. And I know I only sent 10, so I was like, okay, thank you very much. And I signed, and I called my office right away. Hey, did you send more money than I told you? No, we only sent 10 grand. So there was an extra 14 grand in my account. Now they were just getting the operation system going. So this was obviously a mistake. I went to the crap table, played like one hand for like 5 minutes, went back, completely cashed out. I think I lost a grand at the table. I cashed out 23 grand and went back over to Caesars with my money. And it was like the Mirage saying, here's a $13,000 or $14,000 head start. Needless to say, they still won that hand in the end game at the end of the day. Mirage was the first hotel for Steve Wynn on the Strip. He was at the Golden Nugget before that. If you remember, they also had that Treasure Island next door. And those two hotels started the whole, entrance to the hotel shows where you had the fire and the volcanoes at the Mirage and the pirate show over at Treasure Island. That later became, the Bellagio and the dancing fountains, right? And that became like one of the many themes that Steve Wynn started on the Strip. I will hate to see it go. They had great penthouse suites at the Mirage. I loved it there. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll tell you this, that people don't realize Shadow Creek, when it was built,
right,
you couldn't play it unless you had $1 million credit line or not. So when he built the Mirage, he built Shadow Creek at the same time. So players that came in, they wanted to play the all-exclusive Shadow Creek. There were days there wouldn't be a golfer on property. Yeah. There'd be nobody playing the course for 4 or 5 days. Then the big gambler would come in. He'd get to go out and play Mirage. I was fortunate enough to have played it in the first year it was open. And I will tell you this, the golf cart where the seat is, you open up, it's full bar underneath, stocked with whatever you wanted. After you played 9 holes, you had to go in and have a full 5-star catered lunch and then go play the back 9. It was as exclusive as anything I've ever seen in my life. Now you can play it for $1,000, but back then, attached with the Mirage was the caveat of Shadow Creek. I agree with you. I'm gonna miss it, man. I love that property.
And only in Vegas could you sit on the 5th hole, look in every direction, and feel like you were in Palm Springs.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable what they did in the desert there. All right, let's take a quick left turn to the NBA, where everyone's talking about the Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis trade. B, it's almost hard to believe it on its face. I mean, how does something like this happen?
First of all, that they kept it quiet. That only 2 people knew, Plank and the GM of the Mavs, that they kept it that quiet. That's number one. Number two, from what I've heard, and you can tell me what you've heard, but from what I've heard, Luka's a very big partier. He's been going out a shit ton. He loves to drink, not getting in shape. And the Mavs were just tired of it. They were tired of his lifestyle. They don't trust going forward he's ever going to be a in shape kind of guy. My say to you is, in shape or out of shape, the guy took a team to the NBA Finals, led the league in scoring last year with practically nothing. 5-time All-NBA since he's been in the NBA. I don't know from a health and fitness standpoint, but his lifestyle off the floor, I heard, had concerns for the Mavericks going forward, shoving all in with him. And this was a way that they could win now. That's what I heard. Your thoughts?
I mean, Lawrence Taylor used to smoke crack at halftime. And at that time, if I was starting a defense in the NFL, he'd be my first choice. I mean, it's all about, to me, I mean, look, it's all about results. This guy gets the results. And first of all, let's go back to what you said. LeBron James said he was shocked when he heard about it over the internet. He thought it was a hoax. If you believe that, man, I got oceanfront property to sell you in Las Vegas. I don't believe that for a minute. I also look at the ownership saga, right? Miriam Adelson, wife of late casino mogul Shelly Adelson, new owner of the Dallas Mavericks. So, like, the first thing that came to my mind is, the coincidence that Mark Cuban becomes like, a minority owner right at the right time when this thing is going on. Look, I'm not sure of any of this, but I don't trust the NBA. I don't trust Mark Cuban. I don't trust Shelly Adelson. So we'll have to see who the winners are. But to me, is this the beginning of a controlled demolition of the Dallas Mavericks that eventually will be an organization that moves to Las Vegas? Are they doing what Oakland did with baseball? What's going on here? I don't know who the winners are, Brandon. We'll have to follow the story to find that out. But I know who the losers are. And the losers, for sure, are the Dallas Maverick fans. They've been robbed of someone who's been the heart and soul of this team and will be the heart and soul of this team for the next decade. If I were a Dallas Mavericks fan, I'd walk away. I wouldn't watch anymore. But that may be just what Shelley Adelson wants them to do.
Think about this. The Lakers have just an amazing way of getting that next generational guy. Wilt, Kareem,
Yeah,
Magic, Kobe, Shaq, LeBron,
yeah,
Luka.
yeah,
I like signing this center Williams to come over.
yeah.
If you're asking me right now, gun to my head, who's more in a position to win? It's the Lakers with this big guy and LeBron and Luka. Butler to Golden State. We'll talk about that. This trade for the Lakers sets them up well when LeBron retires. You got Luka. Could not agree with you more as far as the Mavs here ending up in Vegas. Seems very
plausible.
Yep.
Yeah, listen, I mean, and look at the whole league where it's going. I mean, they're not just moving or shifting; they're sprinting towards being a European league. I mean, if you look at all the U.S. players, they're all past their prime. The best of them, they're still great. All your favorite players, still great, but they're all clearly past their prime. All the new up-and-coming players are European. They mentioned going to a 10-minute quarter. That's Europe. Coloring the courts with Crayola colors. That's Europe. Everything they're doing. They've lost to U.S. fans. The viewership is down 40 to 50% in the U.S. Where are they making their money? Where is that viewership being made up? Well, it's being made up in Europe and in China. And that seems to be the direction of the league. They seem to be moving away from the U.S. fan and towards that European fan. And you mentioned Jimmy Butler, who finally found $100+ million home in Golden State. What do you think about that?
It's great for Steph to have somebody to play with. Making them any sort of a threat in the West is comical. They gave him $111 million for 2 years. Unless they get 2 more pieces to go with Steph, Draymond Green is not the answer inside. They need a big. It sure as hell ain't Draymond Green. I'll be shocked if they do anything. But listen, you can never doubt Steph Curry.
Yeah.
For them, for people who understand basketball, for that Golden State team to have beat the Celtics for the NBA championship a couple years ago, on paper, should never have happened. But it did because of Steph Curry. They could surprise us, and maybe they do. But in my opinion, I just don't see them. They'll be fun to watch, but I just don't see them making any dent in the West with OKC when they get Holmgren back, Golden State. And I'm telling you, do not sleep on the Memphis Grizzlies.
Okay.
Do not. They are something else to watch. And if Ja stays healthy, you might just see them in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, it's funny because as we film this on a Thursday, I think trading deadline's 3 p.m. today. We're going to see a few more moves, and I think, like you said, Lakers, call it what you want, seems to be a rigged system for them for a long time, but we'll have to see. They definitely have some pieces to fill, but they are looking much, much better. I think they came out on the beast side of this trade. Dallas, I don't see how they could afford to. I don't know, chubby or not, 30 points a game. Like what do you want? Like, you know what I mean? Like, to me, it's a non-factor. I mean, you had guys like Chris Mullin that played drunk for 4 years. There was nobody better at shooting than him. So
listen,
again,
Steve-O, he took him to the NBA Finals on one leg.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're watching it, and you saw him in pain. He's scoring 35, 40.
Yeah. That's why I think all these stories that we're hearing, they're being fed out there. I don't believe any of them. I don't think they're relevant or they matter. I think they're just excuses. Okay, before we get into the thing that everybody came for, the weekly free pick winners, let's do what we do on this show that no other sports gambling show does. Let's take a look around the country and discuss what the fuck is going on. B, Let's talk some Trump. You know, we love to talk Trump. First few weeks in office, it's been a whirlwind. Media having a hard time keeping up. Are you surprised, or is this just business as usual for DJT?
Business as usual. And he signed the bill yesterday with no more transgenders playing female sports. Thank God. I mean, it was a farce. It was embarrassing as a country to allow it. 6'9" volleyball player breaks the face of a girl out west with a spike. You have a girl in the pool swimming against a 6'7" male who's beating her by 20 lengths. Embarrassing for our country. Enough's enough. Males, females, stick to your sport. I'm a high school junior. I want a transgender so I can make the varsity basketball team. And I can be significant. I set the bench on the boys team. I'm transgendering now so I can average 40 on my high school girls team.
You know, the guy who shoots this show is a professional wrestler. Tell me something. Where are all the girls dressing up as guys looking to wrestle the men? Where are the girls dressing up as guys looking to box the men boxers? Yep. You know what I mean? Yep. Like, we don't see this. It only works one way. And if it only works one way, it can't be right. I mean, January 6th, hostages freed. Hostages in Venezuela freed. Hostages in Gaza freed. Migrant criminals are being deported. Canada and Mexico both capitulating. They're putting 10,000 troops on the border to slow the flow of illegal border crossers and fentanyl. FBI, DOJ, IRS agents are being fired left and right. $1 trillion in wasted spending already cut by Musk and Doge. Surgical, like you said, child transitions are being banned. No more men in women's sports. U.S. aid is done. Department of Education about to be done. Consumer trust, Brandon, it's way up. The armed forces enrollment are way up. It's only been a few weeks. All I can say is promises made, promises kept, and no matter what side of the coin you're on here, it's nice to have a president in the Oval Office who's actually outworking everyone on the planet. The man's an enigma, and that, my friends, go ahead, is the bottom line. Yeah.
My wife keeps up on this beyond anything you can imagine. Me, not so much, but in conversations with her, I'm fully abreast with what's going on. And when I found out, why is it our responsibility to send hundreds of millions of dollars to help feed people in Venezuela?
Right.
That's your country.
Right.
Figure it out.
Yep.
Amazing what this man's doing, getting us back to the way America was. And I said this on an earlier podcast with me and you. If you're a Democratic person, get used to it because you're going to have 12 years of this because you ain't got nobody over on that side that's going to beat Vance. Sorry.
Yeah.
Ain't happening.
Yeah.
He's got 8 years in front of him to keep this going. We're going to go on a 12-year world championship run with Trump and Vance over the next 12. So Democrats can stick it. Well, the 4 years you put us through, it's going to take 8 years to fix it.
And how many Democrats are looking at their 401ks right now and going, well, you know what? Not so bad. Let's give the guy a chance. All right, guys, it's that time now, the time you've all been waiting for. Here come the winners. It's this week's free picks. But remember, guys, free picks, they're just that. Free picks. For your best chance to win, grab the All Access Pass and the premium plays from all the top cappers in the country on our site, twoforyourmoney.com. That's what I do. That's what Brandon does. And that's what you should do, too. All right, let's get down to business, B. It's Super Bowl weekend, one game left, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, and after 2 straight weeks of analysis, there's nothing the odds makers know that you and I don't know or the gambler doesn't know either. So it's time to go head-to-head with the bookie. We had an incredible wild card and divisional rounds, and the conference championship games also lived up to the hype. So now the stage is set for the biggest heavyweight fight of the year, the Super Bowl. In one corner, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and the Kansas City Chiefs headed back to the Super Bowl for the 5th time in 6 years. And after they just got by, then they really just got by the Bills. In the other corner, the Philadelphia Eagles represent the NFC after destroying the Packers, the Rams, and the Commanders. The Chiefs finished the season as the number 1 seed in the AFC, with a 15-2 record. The Eagles were number 2 in the NFC, 14-3 record. Look, these guys, they've been on a collision course the entire season. I mean, since September. This sets up the rematch of the Super Bowl from 2 years ago. The Chiefs are -1 versus the Eagles. The total is 48.5. But before you tell us who's going to win, B, let's talk props. Literally hundreds of side bets to choose from, all with one purpose, as far as I'm concerned, to entice the gambler to make as many bets as possible and ensure that the house always wins. You got a favorite prop for the game, and what's your overall feeling and strategy when it comes to betting props?
First of all, have fun with it. I think Trump being shown on TV is 1.5. Bradley Cooper's 1.5. Taylor Swift is 6.5.
Right.
She was shown 12 times in the AFC Championship game, so it seems like over 6.5 at -120 is a mortal lock. Question is, does Fox love her more than CBS? So that was something I found intriguing. First president ever to attend a Super Bowl, our boy Donald. I think he's definitely going to be shown over 1.5.
Right.
Eagles score, you cut to Bradley Cooper going crazy. I think that's over 1.5. Couple that I really, really like is you figure the Chiefs and Spagnuolo are going to double team A.J. Brown. That puts Devontae Smith right in the crosshairs. He scores a touchdown. He's plus 1,900. We know Jalen Hurts in the red zone loves Dallas Goedert. Anytime touchdown for him, plus 1,900. And I found it pretty amazing. Travis Kelce to score plus 950, an anytime touchdown. So I think those three I really, really love from a value standpoint. I see all three of those guys getting in the end zone.
Yeah, that's all good analysis. I'm not really a big fan of the props. Originally, we just had them in the Super Bowl. That was going back 20 years. Obviously, now they're very popular. During the season, you have tons of props on every game, even though still only 3% of the audience actually bets them. That's not to say the live betting isn't a good addition, but live betting at the end of the day, right? That's just straight betting at different times throughout the game. So it's still at the end, betting is done now the way it was done, 50 years ago. It's straight bets, that's what it is. Everything else is just kind of like side bets and drama. But look, at the end of the day, I do think it's the Super Bowl. Something's to be said about having a good time at the Super Bowl, to watch and bet the Super Bowl. If that means to you betting some props, okay. Just don't bet so many props that at the end of the day you wind up winning the game and losing for the day because you bet so many props. Enjoy the props, but make sure the lion's share of your investment is on the actual winner of the game. That'll give you watching, pleasure throughout the entire day and night, and it doesn't make you at halftime scratching your head going, what did I do? I blew my load with the props, and now it doesn't really matter who wins or loses. And it puts you in a position to start making halftime bets just to give yourself some action. And when you're betting just for action and based on emotion, the casino and the sports book always has a big advantage over you. But okay, now that we got the props out of the way, let's talk Super Bowl, B. People could say what they want, but there's no one better at picking the Super Bowl than you. 26-6-2 lifetime. You alluded to that in the beginning of the show. And as you know, B, for a lot of bettors, winning the Super Bowl can certainly right a lot of wrongs. So tell me who you like, B.
First of all, you got great numbers on both sides to make a case for both sides. Philly comes in number 1 overall defense in the NFL. 2000 Ravens had the number 1 overall defense, killed the Giants 34-7. Patriots in 2003 had the number 1 overall defense, beat Carolina 32-29, didn't cover the 4.5. You had the Denver Broncos playing Seattle, the number 1 overall defense, Legion of Boom destroyed them 43-8 in an absolute destruction. So certainly the numbers here favor Philadelphia and Vic Fangio.
Yep.
Except he's 0-8. Versus Patrick Mahomes, 0-6 as head coach of Denver, 0-2 as defensive coordinator of Miami. So flip a switch there. The team that played a regular season game on the Super Bowl field and won has gone back to that location and won in the Super Bowl. Of course, Philly beat the Saints in week number 3. That being said, head coaches in the NFL Super Bowl meeting for a second time. It's happened 4 times in Super Bowl history. Mr. Budin, can you name the 4?
I can't, but I can tell you that no one's won more Super Bowls than Belichick and Brady, and the only one that's come close, or number two, is Mahomes and Reed. But go ahead, why don't you tell us the top four breakdown
Chuck
there?
Noll beat Tom Landry twice.
Uh-huh.
Tom Coughlin beat Bill Belichick twice. Andy Reid beat Kyle Shanahan twice. Jimmy Johnson beat Mark Levy twice. All four times the coach who won the first game won the second game, and now here's Andy Reid taking on Nick Sirianni. The Super Bowl lines in playoff history: point spread, 3 points or less. Patrick Mahomes 8-0 against the spread. Those are your numbers.
Yep.
And Steve Budin used to always say, "Men lie, women lie, but the
numbers never
don't
lie."
You break this down. The amazing thing about it is Patrick Mahomes' defense has never had to win a Super Bowl for him.
Right.
He had the ball last in both wins against the Niners, had the ball last against Philadelphia. He's down double digits in both wins in the fourth quarter against the Niners, tie game when he got the ball against Philadelphia. The only Super Bowl that he got his ass handed to him was Tampa Bay. Why? Because Tampa Bay's defensive front got pressure on him, and it was game over. For me, I'm going to play over the posted total right now. I'm releasing the game at BrandonLang.com in about 5 hours, and so you'll have the side for me to go to 27-6 because, like you said, Steve, I went to bed last night and said, I can't go against Mahomes and Andy Reid. Yep. I woke up this morning and I said, defense wins championships. There's no doubt. Eagles have the better defense. Yep. They have the better offensive line. They got the better running game. Those three things in a Super Bowl are hard to beat unless you're Mr. Bundle on the other side, who just doesn't lose Super Bowl. So this is a tough one. I do like over because I think both offenses indoors on this fast track are going to have success. So I do like over that 48 and a half.
Yep. 48 and a half. Yep. Listen, I mean, we talked to our friend Kenny the other day on the phone together, and we both respect his opinion. He actually makes up part of the New York crew, one of my crews that I lean on for information. And he said something very smart. He said, Eagles are not going to be able to run their way into winning this game, and they have the most talented running back in the NFL. That Hurts is going to have to pass the ball and pass the ball successfully. The one thing I noticed, and there's so many parallels when I look at Reid and Mahomes, and I look at Brady and Belichick, right? And one of the parallels is you have to score a touchdown every time you get inside the 20-yard line. If you're settling for field goals and you're playing that game where you're trading scores, field goals for touchdown, you can't beat them. You also have to have enough of a lead at the end of the game where they can't get the ball last and score last. How many times have we seen cool, calm, and collective? Mahomes got 2 minutes. Brady used to have 2 minutes, and he comes right down the field, and he scores with 4 seconds left, right? Always with not enough time for you to do. So if you're going to give a chance for KC to score at the end, you're going to lose. If you're going to score field goals and trade them for touchdowns, you're going to lose. So I see all these ways for the Eagles to lose, and if they play the perfect game, they will win. I don't know if you can bet on any team ever to play a perfect game, and you throw all of that out, all the numbers that never lie, all the gut instincts that usually do lie, all of the things that you traditionally bring into handicapping a game like this. And I say to myself, can I live with myself if I bet against Mahomes and Reid and lose my money? And the answer is no.
Yep.
Can I live with myself if I lose on Mahomes and Reid after betting on them in every other Super Bowl and winning multiple times already? Yes, I can live with myself. So in the end, I lean towards betting the Chiefs and going with Mahomes here because I'm up money with them. I've already won on all the Super Bowls with them. I don't think the Eagles are going to play a perfect game, but if they do and they win and they cover, my hats off go to them, and I've got no problem with that. Go ahead.
Here's the fascinating thing. You can without any stretch of the imagination, you can honestly say the Kansas City Chiefs should have been 0-3 to start the year.
Right.
The Ravens scored on the last play of the game, but his toe was on the line by an inch, so that game goes to overtime. Yep. Or maybe Baltimore goes for 2.
Right.
The next week at home against Cincinnati, it's 4th and 15. pass interference penalty or game over. Pass interference, they kick a field goal, they win 36-35. And last but not least, week 3 at Atlanta, they're up 22-17. Falcons have 3rd and 1 with a minute to go at the KC 10. They can't pick up a yard over the next 2 downs, and KC wins that game 22-17. They could have been 0-3. Denver, Raiders, both had them on the ropes, as well as the Chargers could have 3 losses there. There's losses all over their season, but they know how to win. Conversely, Philadelphia, which makes the Super Bowl so intriguing, they set at 2-2. They're 15-1 their last 16 games, and the game they lost was a 3rd and 6 conversion in Washington against the Commanders that Devontae Smith dropped over the middle, or they take a knee, and they finished the season 16-0. They can play the perfect game. The question is, will they? And last but not least, Steve-O, all I hear is Jalen Hurts, Steve Spagnuolo reading the blitz.
Right.
My memory serves me correctly. He was in his 2nd year in the NFL when they played KC and Spagnuolo in the first Super Bowl, and they scored the most points in NFL history for a losing team at 35 points. So throw that out. If Hurts play, and you said it perfectly, they play the perfect game. They haven't turned the ball over in 7 games. They're going to win this football game.
Yes.
If they win the turnover battle, they're going to win this football game. The problem is KC just knows how to win.
You know, and I talked earlier about the parallels between KC and the Patriots in the.
It's amazing.
Right. One of the things we always used to call Belichick a defensive genius, right? Everyone was like, oh, my God, Belichick, he's a defensive genius. But when you had a quarterback that could put up 50 points in a snowstorm, how much of a genius did you really need to be? All you really needed to do was make 1 or 2 stops the entire game because you were going to come down and score every time you had the ball. I kind of feel the same way about KC, right? Do they have to be dominant on the defensive side? No, they got a guy who can put up 50 points with the blink of an eye. All they really have to do is come up with 1 or 2 key stops in the game, and they should be able to win this game. I think that's just too hard to overcome, and my money, I think, is going to be on KC. That'll do it for this week, B. Don't forget, everybody out there, to follow us and hit subscribe. Make sure you go to twoforyourmoney.com and grab a 2-day all-access pass, absolutely free. We'll see you next week. For Brandon Lang, I'm Steve Budin, and we are Two for Your Money.